now. This is it now.
Here he is, the late running 1406 to Southampton. How are you?
Mate, the 1406, that implies a timetable.
Yeah, well, hey, come on. What is the great successes?
Now, trains and Nazis, not a good idea.
Right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another one of these. I'm joined by the deadly duo. We are born again. Christ is risen. Hallelujah. Praise the whatever you want to praise. Praise until you forget what you're praising, because Spurs are back on track. The season is rebooted and relifted. We are energized and we are heading for Europe. The only way is up. What do we think of the game, lads? What do we think of the game?
I had the misfortune of being there, and I can honestly say I could have found 11 blokes in the local pub who would have been a more capable, competent side than Southampton. We're experienced in watching shite, having been Tottenham fans at Tottenham Stadium over recent years. But my God, Southampton were dreadful.
We are connoisseurs of crap, and they ticked that box, didn't they?
Anybody who rants and raves about this young Tyler Dibbling lad, the winger playing for Southampton at 100 million, if you spend anywhere close to that figure, then you're heading down the Tanguy Ndombele, Giovanni Lo Celso, Ryan Sessegnon route again, because save your money and go elsewhere.
What did you think, Mr. V?
To paraphrase the great Sir Alex Ferguson, lads, it's Southampton.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
What would you say, Tony? This is what I was thinking of opening with, and I didn't bother because it wasn't that good enough. So I'll give it to you as a question. What would you say to those fans who would say, "Well, you can only play who's in front of you"?
Yeah, but they're the worst team in Premier League history. If you can't beat the worst team in Premier League history, and as Chris has quite rightly alluded to, any team, I'd give you half a dozen championship teams that would have beaten them quite comfortably. No problem at all. Sheffield United would have beaten them.
Yeah.
Leeds would probably have beaten them. I'm sorry. This is not any. Whilst 3 points are always welcome, it doesn't change the fact we're still in 14th place. So let's not get too excited about this recovery, because the recovery hasn't happened yet. And the fact is, we made bloody hard work of that as well. When they got to 2-1, if it hadn't been for that that penalty, it would have been a lot closer. 3-1 seems to indicate that we cruised, etc. No, we didn't. We made hard work. The second half was pretty uncomfortable watching, frankly. Yeah. They had a lot more possession. They had a lot more going for them. Because they're so crap, other teams with the amount of chance they've had would have probably put a few of those away with a decent striker, because they made a lot of really good, a lot of good attacking play in the second half. I heard a lot of people on Facebook, dare I say it, for my sins, going on about, it was a case of game management. Yes, what do you mean?
I was about to throw that one in, because I thought, hang on a minute, you seem to be at odds with the impresarios out there who were able to see into the future and around the corner and tell us what was going on inside Thick Dundee's mind, which was we were saving it for Thursday. We will remind them of this on Friday morning. I might.
If you want to save that level of play for Thursday, we are going to get our asses well and truly handed to us. You need to be playing with confidence. You need to be absolutely destroying those teams in front of you, because that's what good teams. That's what teams that win things do. Is they destroy teams in front of them. When they've got their foot on their throats, they just keep pressing. And we don't do that. We go 2-0, we're done. How many times this season have we gone 2-0 up and then seen it get clawed back? Sorry, it's Southampton. We should have just destroyed them and just put it well beyond them by the time it got to their recovery. They're getting back into the game.
If you're talking about game management, though, then surely why did you play Son, who, if Thursday's such a big game, why weren't you saving his legs? The vanity project that is Mathis Tell, why didn't you play him from the outset? You've got Solanke, who's woefully out of form, couldn't hit a barn door at the moment. Then why not throw some of the kids in? And at centre half, we've been saying that Mickey van der Ven needs minutes after his return from injury. So why bring Davis back into the side? There were lots of
Yeah.
And then
well
we
said.
even made a right balls up at that penalty. You know, we've got a bloke who's scored twice in the game with the potential to score his first ever hat trick for Tottenham. They should have been the balls tossed to Romero as the captain, who then seemingly decides to give it to a bloke who's on loan and who's only to come off the bench for a few minutes. Whilst some might say, "Oh no, he needs it as he's a young lad; it could project him to other things." Could you ever imagine Alan Shearer or a Michael Owen or one of the elite level centre forwards in world football, Ronaldo or Messi, giving up the opportunity for a hat trick?
It's called a lack of killer instinct, Chris. It's called a lack of killer instinct. That's
It's
what it
just
is. It's all about let's all be nice and
mentality.
inclusive. Let's all be nice and inclusive and lovely to each other instead of going, no, it's my penalty. I'm fucking taking it.
I was going to
Yeah,
say something dreadfully intolerant there and say, well, come on, guys. You're asking why did the guy on 2 goals not be allowed to complete his hat trick? And they gave the ball to other. Well, the other guy was darker. I mean, come on. Or have I got it? Have I got this upside down? What does DEI mean to any of us? If we're not going to be selfless at the moment of the reason the ball was given to what's his name is because it was a political move. So when they look at his numbers at the end of the thing, suddenly he's got another goal and he looks less like a complete fraud. Now the reality is we all saw the game. I mean, Simon Spur, who's on the Substack, lives a bit out of town, as we all do, but left early because he was losing his mind. That second half was really bad football. And I had a conversation with somebody this week. And I've had this conversation 1,000 times, but it's about selling people empty boxes. It's the short-term gain for the long-term regret. And a market trader who sells washing up liquid in bottles of Chanel perfume, he will do very well bashing them out at tenors, from an empty unit around the back of Oxford Street, but he will only do it once, maybe twice in his lifetime. And if you're a Spurs fan who's shelled out to go to that game and you're not a tourist and you're not a day tripper and you're not the corporate numbskull, but you're somebody who's actually in there for the football, you're going to leave there scoring that game about 6.5 out of 10 tops because you didn't really get a second half. So giving that guy a goal, it's all one and the same. It's all aimed at producing this false narrative that the guy wasn't a waste of meat and should have gone straight to the glue factory with the other horses that don't work anymore. I thought it was a shocking piece of decision making, and we don't have any men in this team. Well, I'll just leave it there. Period. We don't have any men in this team.
We have men. We don't have leaders, and they are two different things.
But we don't have men. We don't have men who will pick up the ball and demand the ball and instruct others like proper soldiers do. Opposed to this, you have it then.
And that
I thought it was a shocking decision.
Sums up Son that he has never been a captain. He has never captained that club. He's just there as the political appointment. And look who attracts all the tourists through the door. Let's give it to the fanboy to attract all the match day revenue for merchandise sold in the shop. But
and what do you think? And what do you think? Cuti Romero got his assistant to the assistant captain badge for. He got it because they want to crack more markets.
Yeah,
there are. This is the thinking behind it, and because of his price point, these are political decisions. This isn't like a guy who understands his customer coming through the door and says, "I know what will sell really well." He puts in the window what he wants people to buy. And that is not necessarily the key to success in business. It's a very basic maxim I'm talking about here, But I thought it was hilarious. And the picture that you took, Chris, just to I would just hold my hands up and I'm throwing myself on the floors of the court here and just saying the picture you put up of the go and score a goal. We love you, Brennan Johnson. Big banner thing that was being waved.
It's Johnson again.
Exactly. Yeah. Presumably that means something to somebody somewhere. But I used that. I stole that without accreditation and put it onto X. And would you believe? And I thought I purged my feeds, but would you believe some nincompoop had crept in, possibly at 3 a.m. with the rest of the Australians after the game and said, Well, that made you look really stupid, didn't it? It's 2 goals against Southampton, and he's worth a banner.
Yeah.
They don't do irony very well in Down Under, do they?
But that summed up.
Don't do much well.
That's photo summed up everything that's wrong with football, specifically Tottenham Hotspur. That you've got
exactly that, and doesn't it?
And
doesn't it also say? Yeah, doesn't it also say a lot about our club that Brendan Johnson is like the lead? He's the guy. He's the lead scorer.
I'll tell you what was even.
What does that say about this club, about this team and this club when you got something like that?
Well, I tell you what it says. It says we're an equal opportunities employer. That's what it says to me.
What was even more interesting was the tweet that the club put out in the build-up to the game yesterday, where you thought it was Paris Fashion Week, and you had our players sorting down the catwalk with some little what are they? Little cotton numbers and some espadrilles, and all looking very well turned out. You're thinking, we're at home to Southampton, about to get relegated, the worst official team ever in Premiership history, and we're putting out such tosh as this.
Well, if you've got a Paris catwalk, mate, you may as well have the Paris baguette with it at the same time. They could have been walking down the catwalk, munching on the old baguettes, couldn't they?
I don't think any of those professional athletes could actually be seen eating products that are so calorific and so packed with sugar and zero protein. But no, those suits that they were sporting, it was the equivalent of a Baptist church on a Sunday, simply with these crazy big suits and hats and everything. And you wear that to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet meal.
Looks like a mutated version of Miami Vice, doesn't it? Honestly,
yeah. You're going to an all-you-can-eat $9.99 drinks are extra meal in the heart of Liverpool or somewhere scumbaggy like that, and you're dressed up in a bright red suit with green shoes and a yellow shirt. I mean, you know, I thought it was just ridiculous. I mean, I know they have commercial remits to fulfill, but the idea that you do this, and again, the thinking behind that was political, because what they were doing there is they were putting a thing out where there was going to be people cheering and smiling and happy and upbeat because we were beating one of the worst teams to ever have crawled out of the gutter.
I left that game yesterday thinking you can't actually take anything from this. You can take the positive that we are less likely to get relegated because we got 3 points in the bag. But you looked at the quality of the opposition we were playing, they were dreadful. And then you looked at our performance, it was dreadful. It was flat. There was no excitement in the stadium. And then you think, actually, why didn't we use this as an opportunity to give Mikey Moore minutes on the left-hand side? Why didn't you?
Well, I think we know why, don't we?
Yeah. But if there was ever a game where you could put 2 or 3 in to give them football, that was it. Because the next series of games with your Nottingham Forest, your Brightons, your West Hams, your Liverpools, your Aston Villas, you haven't got the luxury to do that in those games.
Everything I hear, because they're still, I think we're less against the grain than we used to be in terms of what we've been espousing in terms of our esteemed head coach. I just call it head because a coach doesn't really come into. He's probably, I say head coach. Actually, he probably is the size of a coach, isn't he? Let's face it.
Thick Dundee, mate.
But the point is, and that was just a joke, by the way, for those out there who are easily offended, because there are still some of those around.
Other size forms of transportation are available.
Indeed. But the point is that I hear a lot about, we've still got to give this guy time because we can't keep going through this perpetual cycle of, rinse and repeat managers, which I do understand. I think that's a very valid point. How you've got to do it with the right coach. And they keep saying about, we've got to give him time because we've got a good youthful team. And we've got a team full of youngsters who are going to really embed it. Well, how do we know? He's not playing them.
He hates kids. He's the direct opposite of the child catcher. I mean, no, I've got it wrong. He hates kids more than the child catcher. I mean, he has no. And that was a Chitty Bang Bang reference from, I think, 1968 for anybody losing their mind over that protracted anecdote.
Yeah, Marilyn Manson, anyway.
No, I think I might edit that out. But no, the nonsense that this guy has any involvement with the youth, and he's clearly. I mean, I think his mindset, and I mentioned this very briefly because I wasn't talking to anybody. I put a post out this morning about the way that our work online has been absolutely absolutely crucified by people making stupid ideas. And Google, I include you, and Enoch, I include you in that. But I got the sense when he was saying it, he wasn't cartwheeling. I think he knows that, yeah, sure, that was fine, but I know what's coming down the line. And I think it really is a case of the unstoppable force meeting the paper mache man, and he's just going to be smashed into smithereens, as the Bugs Bunny characters would say.
Well,
I don't think he got much joy from that, but I think going into that game, he was absolutely terrified, very conservative, absolutely terrified of giving any slack away, and would have been very relieved that Brennan Johnson actually stepped up. But then, who has Brennan Johnson scored against? I was just looking there. I should have prepared myself for this, but I was doing something else. But I mean, is Brennan Johnson a runaway success that other clubs are going to be looking to poach in the summer or next summer? I don't think so.
Just to give you some perspective on this, just come up now on the BBC feed that the Southampton manager is leaving.
Yeah, of course he is.
Hello.
well, what
everything else we've been talking about is kind of like, well, yeah, crap team, manager leaving. What, there's no cause for celebration here. There's no cause for let's get a bit excited, even remotely hopeful for Thursday.
But didn't am I wrong here? But didn't the Southampton manager before him get sacked after we played them last time?
Russell Martin, after we conked them 5-1 or something. Didn't he?
Yeah. And we were told then that this was, glory be, we're on the way to Wembley. And this was another coach who was an absolute no mark, like Flange, and he said in his press conference before the game, he was blowing smoke and saying, "Oh yeah, I think Ange is a great example to people." Blah blah blah, and he got absolutely mullered in the game, and he was sacked before the ground was empty. I mean, this is twice in a season we've played these bunch of chumps that have been nailed on for relegation for months. And each time they've lost their manager after we've played them. And there are still people out there with a straight face trying to tell us that night is as day, if you will.
Well, go back to what Chris has said. Well, go back to what Chris said. If this, we talk about this game management scenario and what Chris said about minutes and what have you. How silly is it not to give people like Van der Ven some game time? It's just ridiculous, because if they're going to expect him to suddenly perform like a Rolls Royce when half the engine's not been tuned enough. But this part of the performance levels are getting match fitness and getting your body accustomed to the demands of a match game.
Which is exactly what the experienced manager Arne Slot said in his press conference before his weekend games, because he understands the game. This guy doesn't know what he's doing. I know it sounds deeply offensive, but you're allowed to say that. Surely some of the people out there listening have had people halfway through a job in their home and said, "Sorry, mate, just forget about it. I'll pay you up until now and your materials and everything, but this isn't working for me." Anybody who hasn't done that hasn't lived. They're lying, because they're the people that sit there and go, "I thought it was a bit expensive at the time, but I didn't want to say anything." Morons.
Well, it echoes what we've spoken about previously. And Brandon Austin, where did he disappear to after? He's got to be the most unluckiest man ever, having been at the club for 8 years. Finally gets the opportunity, takes it with both hands, does not let anybody down. In the 3 games he played, did not make a single mistake. And then the 2 that we've mentioned, Mikey Moore and Ajahi, in the Elfsborg game, both had good games and both scored, both disappear into the Bermuda Triangle with Lord Lucan, never to be seen again. And this guy gets it all wrong. Like, you look at Vicario, and he's every inch an £18 million signing. He's useless. He sometimes
he's all right, but he's I wouldn't say he's useless. I would say he's all right. Well, the thing that worries me about him is his mouth.
At the bag, but he can't come for crosses, can't deal with set pieces, and he's iffy at the back when he tries to play the ball with his feet.
That's not entirely true. I mean, in the Southampton game, Chris, there were a number of occasions where there was a nearest Southampton player to him was about 8 foot away, and he leapt like a jaguar in the mists of the jungle, like a salmon from the Scottish. I mean, it was just the over egging it. I mean, I would have well, this is me, isn't it? But I would have taken him off just for acting like a Charlie. But it was all this.
Yeah. And
Oh, well done, you big superhero.
But it goes
Marvel
also,
on the phone.
and the thing is, we were talking about the kids, right? You know, if look at the people, you've got Mikey Moore being consigned to the scrap heap. You've got Jamie Donnelly at Leighton Orient. You've got Alfie Dorrington.
yeah,
Who's the other one? Will Lancashire. All just been turfed off. Get out. Go somewhere else. Rather than actually be involved in the club, actually do something. Yet you've got, fortunately, recently, Timo Werner doesn't get a game anymore, thank God. Tell doesn't deserve his place. I put Mikey Moore in the front of Tell every day of the week.
every day of the week.
Every day of the week.
Easy.
Yeah. And this is that thing. We do have a very promising crop of youngsters, but the only way they actually become better, it's the old story, isn't it? If you're good enough, you're old enough.
The trouble is, the trouble is though, and there's two thoughts spring to mind here. One is that you mentioned the Brandon Austin. Yeah. Does he feel resentment? Does he have that desire to want more? He's been there 8 years. Does he actually go home? And when he walks through the door, the wife says to him, or his common law male partner, or whoever he's shacked up with, does that person turn around to him and say, "There's your bank statement. Look at that. Look, you've got 9 years or 8 years worth of money there coming. You got away with it. Well done." Because they actually are quite content, because the atmosphere, the culture within this club is not about success. And because you look up, and who do you look up to? You look up workhorses who should be superstars like Harry Kane, and you look up at the players that went off somewhere else to really make their name. And then you're looking at the Eric Dyers and the Ben Davies of this world, players who be there, good custodian of the shirt and all that nonsense, don't bloody win anything. I just think the attitude at the club is just stifling, and the business with the kids. You can't reach the people that don't have a voice on the side of sanity in this debate. Because they don't care. It's one of the things they just don't care about. But we don't make any money out of selling our kids. Chelsea Football Club and numerous others do. It's good business practice. But Levy, and this is my suspicion, so it's not fact. Levy, I think, sees these guys, whacks them up in terms of gets them a little glimpse. I mean, we've seen Mikey Moore. He looks like he works to me. That AU guy, he looks like he works to me. Yeah. These other guys we've seen bits and pieces of, they look like they could do a bit. But what they do is they don't want to burst the bubble. So they sit on them until somebody comes in with a mega bid, like we'll give you 50 million. Like we bought Alfie Gray, for example, Archie Gray. They come in, they'll sell at the mega bid money, but otherwise they'll just keep them and then keep the value artificially high. But it's all very well saying, "Oh, we've got some great kids on the books," but they've only got stickers in the windows. They're not selling. It's like going past the garage, and they got all these cars with the stickers in the windows. If that's still there next week, that wasn't the right price. You need to bring the price down. But I agree with you, Tony. I think we should play them. We should meld them in. I mean, you've got a big game coming up. We're playing one of the worst sides in history. One of the sides or rather the side of this season that each time we've played them, they've then either they've self-exploded or have been thrown under the bus by the board of directors, their head coach. This was a great opportunity to bring some kids out, and we haven't done it again.
So what we've actually verified is that we are human traffickers that specialise in child exploitation, but we don't actually allow those children the minutes to exploit them fully.
We're like one of those dating websites where you just find the people that human traffickers can't sell.
Steady up, Chris. Chris, you be very careful. You don't say that in Idaho, mate. You may not survive.
I will for Idaho. I'm sponsoring the first bullet. Yeah,
I'm running for mayor.
Yeah,
I don't know if I told you I'm running for mayor. I was going to say,
what there'd be a dream team, wouldn't it?
Well, if you had any contacts in the cowboy boot and Stetson world still on your phone, I could get kitted out for that. That'd suit me down to the ground. Busy day? Yeah, we're always busy. Business is booming.
The hillbilly heartthrob, the boy Hotspur.
But it's a shocking indictment of the club as a whole, that we with this much vaunted academy that we have, with all the facilities, etc. We produce some players of some good quality, and yet they never achieve. They very rarely ever amount to much. And therein lies the rub, because it's saying to me that the academy isn't there to build players that will be in the first team squad. It's there just to look nice, and it doesn't have any intrinsic value, because what's the point of developing these players if you're never actually going to get them into the first team?
How dare you overlook the sporting successes of Oliver Skip and Harry Winks? You are so short-sighted, and you make me sick.
I'm sorry, have I just suddenly shifted into an alternative universe where Harry Winks and Oliver Skip were considered successful?
Was that Sir Oliver Skip? Has he been knighted for services to football? But I mean, yeah, look at Skip. Was he still ghosting around in Winks or Leicester or something?
Yeah, he's not even in the first team squad. He's not even in the starting 11 for them.
No, that's Winks. So Winks got in trouble, didn't he? He's refused to stay one night a week at the club, and he'd rather commute 100 miles a day. And Van Nistelrooy's kicked him into touch.
Wow.
There's another one who's going to last. Is basically, he must be living on extremely borrowed time there as well. I mean, Leicester are just the same, aren't they? Yeah. And again, this is the thing. You look at Southampton. Yeah, the worst team in Premier League history. We've beaten them twice. Leicester, we actually managed to grasp defeat from the jaws of victory against them at home. And the same thing with Ipswich. It's just like, and yet we still don't change anything. We still have the same squad of players. We don't try and do something creative. We don't try and do something that throws. For instance, on Thursday, I'd be trying to, if possible, throw them a bit of a curveball by sticking somebody in there they're not expecting. Just to sort of show. No, I said somebody useful.
That'd be the curveball of all curveballs, wouldn't it?
Mate, that would be the curveball of all curveballs. Mine got.
Gott in Himmel, handy hop.
We've just got to do something to shake it up, because this is to Ange, is we're not doing it. It's just the same old stuff. He has basically a group of players, and nobody else outside of that bubble will get anything. And what's the point of having all this other stuff around it, the academy, etc., having these youth players who are getting better and better, sending them out somewhere else, they're not actually integrating them into the whole thing. It's utterly pointless if that's all you're ever going to do. And that's another reason in itself why we need to get rid of Thick, because he's just not willing. He has no track history of developing players. So what's the point of him being there?
Sorry, go on.
I guess all of us would make one common call on Thursday, and it'd be drop Son. You can't start a player based on what his history presents, and at the moment he's not in form. He's not had a great season, so why not do something different? The fanboys are all calling for the next Balloon d'Or winner, Brennan Johnson, to start after his 2 goals against Southampton. So let them have their wish, and then why don't you play that? Give that Tell minutes on the left, or give Odebear minutes on the left, and then stick Solanke up top. You've got to do something that's going to stretch them from the wide positions, or put a bit of pace at them. And everybody knows that Son's going to start, and everybody knows how many games this season he's influenced or made a significant contribution to. Count them on one hand, in fact, one finger.
Look, while we're talking about player specifics, can we just hover briefly, like an unfussy fly over a 3-week-old piece of doo-doo? What's the deal with Solanke? I mean, if ever there was a game that should have been open for him to make his presence felt, I mean, is it? I mean, my suspicion is that it's actually the tactics are so poor that we can't even get the ball to the front man. because he didn't offer anything. I mean, all we've heard so far is, oh, he's great movement off the ball, he holds up play, and all this other jargon which is wheeled out when people who are supposed to be scoring aren't scoring. But what did you think about him against Saints, Tony? Did you see him at all? Did you recognise him?
I think the problem is he's now got to the stage where, because he's so starved of any sort of decent service, he's now trying too hard and failing miserably. Because we all know when you get desperate, you start, because he had the ball. There was times where he had the ball, and he was running towards the penalty area, and would just lose the ball.
Running down the Glen.
And if there was any sort of cohesion and tactics, there'll be times where he just needs to pass it out to the wing and then get the ball in, and then get into the box and get the ball in. But he's not doing that because he doesn't have any service. He just, oh my God, what's this round thing at my feet? Oh, but I'd better use it. Yeah. And you're right, it's down to tactics. And because he's not getting service, any striker, regardless of whether you think he's good or not, any striker has thrives on service. If he misses loads of chances, fair enough. But Solanke's not even missing loads of chances because he's not getting any chances.
He's only scored one goal in the calendar year of 2025.
That's horrible, though, isn't it? I mean,
is that Solanke, or is it the tactics, or is it both? And I suggest there's a bit of both. It's a bit of both.
He's not getting the service he needs from the wide areas. You haven't got a number 10 who is going past the last man, putting balls in on the edge of the box and linking up with him. And we were told what an exquisite finisher he is. If you look at his career statistics, they're not great. He had a couple of
he was tossed when he
seasons with Bournemouth, but they're only half decent at best. And when you consider the 130, 140 million pounds that we've pissed up against the wall for Solanke and Richarlison, there were so many better options out there. And that whole signing made no sense at all. We had the whole summer, given that our scouting department doesn't recognise international waters or international airspace. It took us a week before the season kicked off to go back for a bloke we'd known about all that time and was right under our noses. But we got him so late in the transfer window that he didn't have time to have a proper pre-season and a proper time integrating with his own new teammates. It's ridiculous.
Well, you know what, we got him late. I mean, you could say, and not be sued by anybody, that we'd been monitoring, scouting him since he was born. I mean, nobody's been interested in Solanke. Anybody who says that he coulda, shoulda, woulda, no, making it up, mate. Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself. He's not a particularly exceptional footballer. He's quite physical. He looks to me as if he's clearly quite fit. But when it comes to actually seizing on things, but again, I don't think that's his fault. At Spurs, I think given a modicum of chances with what's his name, with Bournemouth, he was able to achieve so much. But at Spurs, did you notice? And I know I've noticed it on a few games recently. You talk about the absence of crosses. I'll tell you what we have become experts at is lashing it in the hope that somebody sticks out a toe. There's been quite a lot of those. They're clearly passes, but they're hit at such force in towards the sort of penalty spot area, which works nicely if you're lofting a ball in to put onto somebody's head, because it doesn't need to be that specific. Because if you know you're around the penalty area, you're probably in a good spot. But when you're whacking the ball in at speed, about 2 foot, 18 inches off the ground, no wonder that there's no service to the striker, because that's where the balls are being wasted. And on that note, but so I just wanted to throw in one other thing as well, which, Chris, I'm not even going to ask you because you're such an unreliable witness. Change for Tottenham, they got a lot of bodies out on the street at that game. The photos are freely available on Twitter. Was there any notion of them in the ground at all? I think the atmosphere was pretty poor, but they really had a presence outside, and they were doing that thing for the fair play for pensioners thing as well, which you've got to respect. I think they're making good headway.
I'm going
to take you all off of mute.
I again didn't observe any of the change to Tottenham movement. I got to Seven Sisters at midday and walked down. I didn't see anybody outside the ground. And when I was in the ground, it resembled the library. So
Yeah.
the atmosphere was what it's been all season, pretty piss
I,
poor.
I think it's endemic. H. You remember your Substack about the live stack at the start of the season. That was as lively as hell.
Yeah.
And I think people now have just basically gone, I can't even be bothered to comment on this shit anymore.
100%. I mean, we would ordinarily hit just. I know this is kind of boring, and it's a weird metric, but I've been doing this a long time, so hopefully I've got it a little bit right. But we would average in excess of 300 comments on a busy day, on a decent day, on a normal day, should we say, and then hit into 400-500 comments on a day where something goes horribly wrong or horribly right, but a day that's atypically one way or the other. And yesterday, I think by close of play, and bear in mind it's a Sunday, and bear in mind that those people that can comment are paying a subscription, and it's weird. There's no rhyme or reason to it because it's like the internet. You say, "Oh, traffic's slow today." It's not like everybody's phoned up BT and cancelled their subscription. It's like you've gone to the park or whatever it might be, but you've opted to willfully not do a certain thing. And yeah, people have their own lives, but I think we hit about 53 comments. I mean, to say that people don't care. Now, if I'm getting that, and this is the point I'm making, I'm getting that, what on earth are Spurs getting? I would be fascinated because I've been a long time believer that Daniel Levy has various forwarded messages on apps, blah blah blah, pop up on his phone, and he can kind of tell you what the hot dog sales are looking like at any moment in the day. And I bet you everything's flatlined. There is no enthusiasm. The only people coming through the doors who are going to be buying stuff and spending money and having a big old time are the corporate heads who are not there for the football anyway. And would you like some more steak? Yes, I would. And refill everybody's glasses here. We're probably going to need 3 bottles. That mob are spending. The South Koreans that have ventured into the premises, they're as happy as Larry. They can't believe their luck. They're big winners in the game of life. But I think your average fan has had it. They're sick to the back teeth with all this. And you've got these voices online saying, "Oh, well, I think we should give them another chance because I don't know what I'm looking at." And I'm and all that rubbish. But I don't think they're vaguely representative of what's going on in the real world. And as you say on the Substack there, it was like embarrassing because like nobody was picking it up and running with it. But in fairness, there was nothing to spark it to be a catalyst for that.
And you say like people care enough not to care, if you know what I mean.
Precisely.
Yeah, that's what it is. You see. And that's what it is, and that's what the point you were making, isn't it? It's not so much about the fact that people can't be asked. It's people are going, I care, but I'm not caring about this because I care about my club and I don't approve of this.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you, I mean, look, let's have it right. If we're 50 comments, the number of comments. And I think this is no different to any other fan forum. There's always a bit of gallows humor. There's always a bit of just, no matter how much you hate things, you're happy when we go ahead because, as we said, it's 3 points. It's blah blah blah. But we scored 2 goals, 2 decent goals, in ball in play goals. And there was still, for the whole bloody 2 hours or whatever it was, the hour and a half that we got, it was 50 odd comments. But the point I'm making about me specifically is don't worry about me, my favorite phrase. If you think of me as being, like the guy at the corner shop, then wonder what the guy in Tesco or Aldi is doing. Because if trade is that bad, if I'm down 30% or I'm down 50%, these guys are screaming because they've got greater overheads, blah, 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 blah. And I think it's shocking. And when it comes to the football, generally speaking, as well, I was dealing with the issue of the online presence because I got my feet in 3 camps: the conventional online thing, this thing, the video thing, and the subscription thing. And it's bizarre. So you've got people who bought subscriptions, don't want to play. You've got people online because of the Google reset core thing they did back in September, which hasn't bloody worked. And so you've got your news now feeds, bless them, absolutely solidly packed with people you don't ordinarily see there, like Football London, like
Mm.
the Express and all these other people have come out of the woodwork, like Football 365, blah. So you've got to fight harder to get your head above the parapet and say, come over here and click on me. And then the video end of it is very straightforward. You need to want to suck on the deceitful teat of the algorithm if you want to proceed on that particular platform. And there's no alternative, because the other thing doesn't have any traffic.
But all of this would be, well, I say all of it could be different if we actually had a product worth actually investing in.
Absolutely. I mean, there are stuff that you're against, like the generative AI stuff from Google, and there are other nonsenses that they do, because like with Facebook as well, recently they've been clamping down on people, and these are businesses that spend their entire life, they're not forward-looking businesses, much of their working day spent gazing at the fluff in their belly button, and they're looking for reasons to almost to justify and reconfigure their existences. So, I know, let's make it all about so-and-so history month, let's make it all about protecting the rights of this or whatever. So they're coming up with stuff to make themselves look busy. I get that, but you can't beat really wanting your team to win, really wanting to comment, really wanting to scream at people online, and I bet the numbers are down. I bet if you go to the big boys that count, opposed to nitwits like me, I bet you they're really, really feeling it, and Ange is part of that problem. No two ways about it.
The feel-good factor's gone. It's been a really dreadful season. There's been no positives. And I, for instance, once upon a time, would go to the game and there'd be a player there that I had a soft spot for: Harry Kane, a Ginola, a Gareth Bale, a Van der Vaart, who got you out your seat, and you were like, oh yeah, now this is entertainment. This is what it's all about. Yeah. You remember the Bale goal against West Ham, where he pinged it into the top corner of his left foot, and you watch that, and it always gets you excited. But you sense now there's 11 players, and I'll give Danso a free pass because he's only recently arrived. But there's a lot of players there. You think your heart's not in it. You're just going through the motions, and that spreads to the terraces. And we think these people haven't tried the season. And then in front of them, we got a coach. And for all the bravado, the coach comes around and we need the noise, we need the atmosphere, we need the environment. It's your job, buddy, to create that. And you looked at the football under Pochettino and definitely under Harry Redknapp. But when you had that gallivanting, swashbuckling side with Kane and Lennon and Van der Vaart and Bale and Modric, Rose, Kyle Walker, it got you, and the excitement spread from the pitch into the stands. That is
but Chris, the football we're getting at the moment is better than what was under Conte and Mourinho. Come on, let's get real here, chaps. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Let's have it right. Let's have it right.
Yeah. All the sexuals is, I'd rather have this sort of football than what we had under Mourinho and Conte. Oh, you mean actually being better at what we're supposed to be? I.e., competitive. I'd take competitive over attractive football. There's no reason why you can't be competitive and do attractive football together. There's no reason why you can't do that. But if you're going to choose one, I'd choose competitive over attractive every day of the week.
Well, this summer I'll be renewing my season ticket.
She's very competitive.
Yeah, this summer I'll be renewing my season ticket for the 35th year. So I've had one every year since 1990, and it got to the point this season I was like, can I actually be bothered to? Because I haven't enjoyed going week in, week out, and the product on display has been crap, and we're managed by an absolute fairy. And then I thought, actually, it's getting out of the house 18 times a season, having beers with the boys, the commute down there, the odd curry from time to time, and it's the hope. I'm now thinking, well, could there be a reset? Could we press the reset button? And we know there won't be, but whilst you cling on to that slightest bit of hope. And the real fan, as I like to think I am, there's not a place for us anymore, because they want the tourists, they want the corporate stuff, they don't care who comes through the door, as long as there's a bum on the seat, and that bum is buying beers, buying hot dogs, and generating revenue.
They want, you know, they want, it's like the online stuff. It's clicks per thousands, earning per thousand, CTRs. They just want you to maximize what they can squeeze out of you when you come in. And quite frankly, if you're a disengaged bloke in his 40s or 50s, you're not really what we're looking for. We're looking for somebody who's going to leap up and down. I mean, I was watching, God help us, but the Spectrum brothers, the We Are Tottenham TV mob, putting out content which gets very big views because it's endlessly upbeat. But these guys are screaming, going absolutely mental, and then the clip fades and cuts or whatever to the fact that it's been disallowed by VAR or whatever the thing was. And I'm thinking, well, you might not want to be stuck in a lift with them. You're right there, Chris. You might not want to be stuck in a lift with them, but you can understand why the club would love them, because they're coming in, they're not making the place look scruffy, they're leaping around, they're going yee-haw at the right places, spending like mothers. And, you know, I understand the business model. That's all I can say. I understand the business model. But the idea that someone like you, of your vintage, is pondering the idea of whether it's actually still worth going with after 30 odd years is actually terrifying. And I see every day, I see comments, not because I'm looking out for it, it's because I don't avoid stuff. People comment on here, they comment in other places. I've had enough. I mean, our YouTube comments, for every guy that says, why can't you get behind him? I think he's going to give us a fresh breath of life. Should have seen what he did at the Yokohama hamstrings or whatever it was. For every one of those idiots, and they are idiots, absolute out-and-out imbeciles that shouldn't be allowed to vote in any country, even one as backward as Australia. There you go, folks. I said it out loud. Even those, but those people, for every one of them, there's somebody in their 40s or their 50s who's calling time on this club because it's gone in the wrong direction. You don't get guys saying, oh, I'm giving up my season ticket. How long have you had your season ticket? I've had my season ticket for 2 years. You don't hear those voices, but you do hear the voices of the guys who feel as if, and they're obliged to say it, they feel obligated to say it, that they've been in the game for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and they're giving it up. They've been priced out and they've been profiled out. And I go back to that conversation we've had before about those airbrush sweeping pictures they put up with all the people walking through the games with shopping bags and chinos. Sorry, Chris, but with their dockers on and all the rest of it. They weren't football fans. They were consumers.
It's become very homogenized.
Very homogenized. And that's why it's particularly brutal at places like Spurs. And look, I've been to Old Trafford and it's been like a funeral parlour on a wet Wednesday. Not every football ground is as per the Sky Sports Paddy Power adverts. It really isn't like that in real life. They give you in that little burst and threaten you with, £90,000 worth of free bets. They're giving you an atypical example of a football match. And bringing in these consumers, we're going to get to the point, and and that was the other point I made in my whine this morning. We're going to get to the point where we might actually find a use for AI. We can bring in AI fans who act like the Spectrum brothers, dancing around mindlessly like sea lions, hoping to be thrown a sprat or a mackerel.
I'm sure the very first AI coach will probably do a better job than Ange Postecoglou as well.
Well, what generative AI does, it learns as it goes along.
Yeah, large language model. Yeah.
There we go. There we go, big fella.
Yeah. So ipso facto, you've just proved your own case, Chris, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how it works. That's how it learns. ChatGPT learns by taking stuff it's got and learning from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Mr. Postecoglou, guilty as charged, me lad. What learning? What's that?
Yeah, I mean, I've challenged numerous people to tell us to name one aspect, not even one person. Don't have to name an individual, which is bizarre if you're talking about football, if you think about it. But name one aspect of the THFC world that has improved, that has been enhanced since he's been here. Because I get the. Well, it's not a sneaking suspicion. I'm utterly convinced. I mean, it's another suspicion, but I'm utterly convinced that he thinks at this level, you simply take the top 10, top 5 players or whatever that you get given, and that's what they do. That's how they come out the box.
Well, he is breaking records, H. It's just the wrong kind of records.
Yeah, absolutely. How many can I break, mate? But I mean, I think that's what we're up against here. You've got a coach, and like I say, and yes, the game against Southampton was very much of that mood, that vibe. That the idea of giving Mikey Moore a go, which I think 95% of the fan base would instinctively lean towards, and with varying minutes from charity minutes right through to 15 minutes to give him half an hour. I mean, I'd certainly replace him with Son and give him a run out for half a dozen games, see what we can get out of him, because I think there's something there. I think there's some invention and some there's a footballing brain in that kid. But I think Ange looks at it and he thinks to himself, no, I'm already halfway down the shitter. I'm not going to take any risks. And this is why you get the likes of Ben Davis wheeled out. And the club endorses these messages. That's the thing, because they don't care about Mikey Moore playing, because at the moment his value is so superannuated, so inflated, that in actual fact playing him, you could actually devalue him.
Well, we're certainly edging him towards the exit door, aren't we? His agent is already looking around.
We know that. We know that. I mean, we've got that information. So, if you want your ITK, it doesn't come fresher than being, a pal of ours sat next to the agent of a fellow player of the same age. This is in the know. And we brought you that a few weeks ago. So Mikey Moore, if you want to put a really mad prediction out there, if you get a bookmaker who does bespoke bets, which is increasingly difficult these days, walk into a bookies and say, I want to place whatever it is, your dinner money on Mikey Moore never playing for Spurs again. And whatever price you get is going to be worth it, because you wouldn't have to put much on and you'd win. It'd be like free money.
I'll tell you a better bet. I'd be tempted to have £10 on Mikey Moore to Arsenal.
Well, you can only tell us what you think you know. It's my polite answer to that, my lord.
for all these thoughts, Arteta's thoughts, Nwanyeri and Lewis Skelly, both 18.
Yeah,
they're good enough.
If you're old enough, you're good enough, aren't you?
Absolutely, it's what I said earlier. It's the time-honoured phrase, isn't it? It really is.
But what makes you wonder about the age thing, for anybody wanting to sort of question the other side of the coin, because I do understand it, because there's an awful lot of huff and puff around these guys. But were we not happy when we've seen him play before, Mikey Moore? And were we not happy when he scored? And why did he delete his Instagram account? Why has he removed? Why has he removed his goal from online? There's clearly an issue there, and it all ties into all the other dark, horrible, moody stuff that we've been sharing with you for years in some instances. And if you go to the Spectrum Brothers, they won't even mention it. They won't even mention it, because it's all bright and hazy. And do you think Andrew will still be here next season? Because we're not sure, and we'll throw it open to the comments. And can we have £5 for every time we answer one of them? Well, and that's the algorithm. That's the metric.
Absolutely. And then you look at, if you think about this logically. We've got no evidence to suggest that Thick actually develops players or develops younger players, makes them look better. People go on about, Conte, Mourinho, the football was dull, the football was this, the football was that. Even Harry Kane, who was absolutely on fire, said Mourinho and Conte made him a better player.
Yeah, absolutely. But you see, people don't listen to that stuff. That's not the stuff that, I mean, this sounds very sort of partisan on my behalf, but I've been in these trenches for a couple of decades now. And this isn't what Football London earn their corn with, by telling you stuff that goes against the grain. I mean, by any self-respecting metric, an organ of that size should be pointing out that the head coach of the club at the moment is throwing buckets of petrol onto the fires within the four walls, to quote our friend Wyan Mason. He's doing no good. He's just causing chaos. He's had 3 incidents where he's had disruptive exchanges, which could have been easily avoided by somebody with half his IQ, with supporters. And I don't care what club those people were supporting. You just don't do it. It's bad for business. The optics are shite. And he is not winning enough games. His points per game is appalling. And what we're talking about here are what the history books will remember. And the history books will remember the quotes from him rubbing his face and going, "Oh, Struth, mate, the way things get missed, I'm so disconnected. I'd get rid of mobile phones."
Yeah.
People that want to start dismantling the nuclear bomb are very admirable, but you can't do it, because once you've found out how to do something, you can just do it again. So you need to be more intelligent, and he's just too bloody stupid.
That's the thing. Sorry, Chris.
I've just shared with you both in our chat a message that I found the other day, which got my attention, and it was from somebody saying, it was saying, over the next few days, weeks, you will start to see more and more stories in the press around player discontent, including Ange's abrupt style and players not knowing where they stand.
Yeah.
Tactics being questioned or lack of tactics, training being criticised, repetitive. Heard the above personally from 4 current first team squad players, so we'll filter to the press shortly, no doubt. None of that comes as a surprise to you whatsoever, does it?
No.
Based on the observations you've just said.
The guy lacks any form of
Emotional
footballing.
intelligence.
Literally, that was my next phrase coming out. Is football and emotional intelligence. He lacks those completely. He is so wrapped up in his own cult of personality that he cannot see that he's actually not being successful. I've used this phrase many times. He is a legend in his own mind. That's exactly what he is, and he cannot see it.
He's a narcissist. I mean,
100%.
People use the word a lot these days because we've all met narcissists and they're not brilliant company at the best of times. But he is a guy who he's so obsessed with and I hate the phrase, but the path, the journey that he is on. We get fed this stuff, which is it's him regurgitating his own partially digested stupidity by telling us how long he's been in the game. Now, I'm very quick. I don't care if you've been doing something 5 minutes or 50 years. I want to get some sense of sparkle from you before I'm going to give you, what you're after. And to say that I've been doing this for 36 years, blah, blah. Well, if you're waiting for your clock, mate, somebody else is going to hand it to you. Because, quite frankly, Tokyo football, Japanese football, Scottish football, I don't care.
The thing is, as well, I completely agree. And the thing is, as well, when you look at what we're doing at the moment, the style of football, at the start, when we had that run of 10, 12 games where we were playing, it was kamikaze style, it was suicidal style, but it worked. It was successful for a while, but at least we had an identity. We were all out, balls to the wall attack, no matter what. Come what may, we had an identity. Can anybody please tell me what our identity as a football team is now? Because I haven't got a bloody clue what style of football we're playing, what our identity is, anything like that is. It's just become vanilla. It's become such a joke. I can't honestly say when you look at a game of lineup, you can't honestly say this is how we're going to play today because you don't know it because there isn't anything anymore.
Well, I do. I see it. I think you're being really unreasonable. I look at the lineups. I look at the way we play, and it just screams to me. It brings back lots of memories, some good, some bad, of being in a playground. Yeah, and it's called hit and hope. It's called hit and hope. I mean, this is the level of chaos that he's brought. And like I said to you about the business with the book Ange Ball that's out there somewhere that some poor bastard paid $9.99 for at some point. What is Ange Ball? Because that lunacy, that Tora that we got for 10 games of the first season was actually all right. I mean, it wasn't great, but it kind of worked. You could see where it was going.
I think
but now it's
unexpected.
Charge. That's it. That's the length of it.
It caught the opposition off of their guard, and then when people got wind of what he was doing, the 11th game against Chelsea, it all came crashing to a halt, didn't it?
Yeah, they put in the low block or the medium block or whatever it was. They just rejigged themselves, and it's been snuffled out because it isn't a particularly intelligent way to play football.
When you're out coached by the Tamworth Town manager. In the FA Cup,
how true?
All the alarm bells start ringing, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, that's where the planes stop taking off and the fire trucks turn up outside. I mean, that was a great example of somebody that you really shouldn't have pulled his pants down, but quite successfully did.
But it comes back down to the same thing, doesn't it? There's no once Plan A has not worked, that is it. That is the end. It's basically that's the end of the universe. That's it now. We're done. Yeah. I haven't got anything else to offer. Well, then you're a one-dimensional manager, and we know he's a one-dimensional manager because, like, he's won at you know, what do you call them, Yokohama hamstrings or something like that, which I thought was really good. He's won in Japan. He's won in Scotland, who are literally one-dimensional leagues. Let's face it, you know,
very, very one-dimensional. I mean,
but,
like I keep on saying to people because they go, "Oh, in Scotland," like as if they're saying, "Oh, in Italy." Outside of Celtic and Rangers, you can be at a game where there's 4,000 people stood there in cowsheds watching football. Don't talk to me about Scottish football and expect me to take it seriously because of, I don't know, bloody Steve Archibald or Jock Stein or something else. Not interested. These are random weird things in your head. The reality is Scottish football is rubbish, and Japan is the size of my desk. I've got my computer and my bottle of water and bits and pieces on. So don't even talk to me about Japanese football. You know, I'm not being disrespectful. I'm just being honest.
And what's even more frustrating about all of this is right now, the Premier League is probably the weakest it's been for a long time. You know, and this is an opportunity. Like this goes back to that moment just around the Champions League final where if Levy had struck at the right time there, we potentially had a team that could have been, I hesitate to use the word, but I'm going to use it. That could have been a dynasty. That could have been something special.
Absolutely.
But he bottled it and decided that a stadium was more important than the actual fucking team.
Well, he's fluffed his lines to such an extent. And this is the thing that I think you've got to be very measured in the way that you compare yourself with your neighbours, because everybody's got an argument. Everybody's got an idea, the latest thing. But he's fluffed it to an extent whereby, as you say, the quality of the Premier League isn't great. You've got a Manchester United team in full-on decline. You've got a Chelsea team that doesn't know Martha from Arthur. They're all over the shop. So there's people out of sync there. Arsenal not at their very, very best either. They're not, you know, up there with the Invincibles. So you've got teams that are nudging their noses about sort of uncharacteristically into the trough, like Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa. Again, no disrespect, but it's great to see them there anyway. But you wouldn't expect to see them in there. But you've got Arne Slot has come in for his first season at Liverpool without having spent big money, and he looks like he may just win the division. Now that tells you everything about the complacency of Daniel Levy, because if he had stuck in and done the right thing to right thing by football and the right thing by Tottenham, we wouldn't be floundering in 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th at this stage in the season.
Can you imagine Conte Mourinho? I have a Conte Mourinho right now. If they'd have been in charge of this club, where we'd be, because I can guarantee you that we'd have been a hell of a lot better off.
We would have been snoring. We hate the way they play football.
Oh, you're going. Stop it! You're doing the hurty words thing again.
Hurty words, hurty. Success. You just don't like Australians.
Yeah. Oh, success! You are a cruel mistress.
Yeah. Madam Booze is a cruel mistress.
But it's true, though, isn't it? You know, this comes back to this thing. It's and as much as Ange is the problem with the team, we all know that Levy is the overall problem. Yeah. Because but let's get a heavy dose of reality here, and we've said this before. He's going nowhere, absolutely nowhere.
He's a major stakeholder, and all of the board are involved with him in one degree or another on boards of other companies. The revolution will not be televised. It will not even happen.
No. So you can wave. It's not. He's redefined nepotism, hasn't he? Basically.
I mean, it's great. Like I say, the change for Tottenham guys. I don't know them. I don't want to know them. I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean each to their own. Good luck to them. But what they're doing, and it's a pity they're not making that breakthrough into the stadium. And I bet you that Levy's really upped his security game, so they're not getting the banners in and they're not getting all seated together, because all of these other initiatives with fans are so wet and worthless. Which, when I say everybody gets emotional. But these guys, they're getting feet on the streets, and it's a bit like whether you like the political thing or not. I don't care, but I'm talking about a reality. You get people turning up to like the Reform Party in Birmingham, the NEC. They're getting lots of bums on seats, and people are showing that they care and they're behind the movement. And that is an impressive thing that they're doing. And Chris is laughing, so I'm very nervous and hoping that there isn't anybody in his house that shouldn't be there, because their time amongst us may be limited.
And so you should have.
But that's what they're doing. I mean, the change of Tottenham, they're getting people out there. And to me, being the grumpy old geezer that I am, they're not drunk. They all look to be moderately well presented. They don't look like they've just been thrown out of the local job club. And they've got freshly printed up stuff, and they're not holding up bed sheets. They look organised, and it looks like they're getting clear messages across. And shame upon the press for not having them splashed all across the back pages when you click on that Tottenham section on the navigation bar, because they should be there to be seen, even if Chris is missing them as he hurtles in at 12:15 on a Sunday lunchtime.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just for finally, very finally, I'm sure you want to wrap it up. And yet we have.
I want to get as far away from you two as it's physically possible to do, and I'm hundreds of miles away now.
Mate, I suggest you go to Australia, then, mate. They're all full of great blokes over there. Great managers as well, mate.
You'd fit in just well.
Top cobbers, mate. They'll meet me at the airport with their torches.
And then, regardless of whether you approve of VAR or not, then we had this another endless thing yesterday with Bergvall, and it's just like let's just take it what it is. It's another opportunity for Ange to deflect away from his inadequacies.
To deflect.
I was doing criticisms there, wasn't I? No, that's me being sarcastic when I say deflection.
You were deflecting your insinuendo.
Well, I was channeling my inner Welsh. I'm deflecting. But yeah, you're absolutely right. He's picked that up simply because it's another mechanism to allow him to say something that probably people don't. Yeah, they just don't want to beat him to death when he says it. And all these other stuff that he's coming out with. I mean, I put the press conference out. The response is that we've heard it all before. They're not going to have an argument next season, are they? When you get semi-automated offsides in there, they're not going to have an argument anymore. What's he going to do? What's he going to argue about then?
Well, the problem with VAR, for those of you joining us today, is that the technology is fabulous, but unfortunately, it's being implemented and enforced by traffic wardens. And that's what's brought us all to a head. That's why it's taking 15 minutes to decide whether somebody's onside or offside. Because traffic wardens.
And you know me, I'm from the boo hiss but the refereeing fraternity. So I look at these things in a slightly different way to the average person in terms of supporters and what have you. But even me looking at that going, if you have to take 5.5 minutes to decide whether somebody is onside or offside, just stay with the on-field decision and get on with it.
Yeah. Well, I think we've all agreed that Thick Dundee is offside, well offside. Thank you very much, everybody. That was tremendous. I'm going to download this. I think Chris is in his maximum security front room, and we should be with you in a few hours' time. But don't forget, keep it Tottenham. Well done, boys. How do we think that went?
So I've got my.
You're still recording. So
that's because I was hoping to trip you up.